Okay, guys, so welcome. This is our first Career Tuesday for spring 2022 semester. And I'm Judy Stewart, and I am from the Business Career Department. I sit in the Stanford campus. My colleagues are with me that sit in Storrs, Waterbury, Hartford, and are wonderful students. But most important, we are hosting Datto today. And Datto is a major technology company that is based in Norwalk. They also have offices in Boston and probably elsewhere. So I wanted to well, I'll have Jenna Hook. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then afterwards, Victoria. Okay.
Sure. Well, thank you, Judy. Thanks for having us too. I know we're excited to partner with UConn. Just being based in Connecticut, it's funny we never made a bigger connection here, but glad to get it started. But yes, I'm Jenna. I am a talent acquisition partner here at Datto. I've been with Datto for about 2.5 years now, a little over. Originally, I was focused mainly on our entire university recruiting, and then moved in more towards full time, so doing finance roles, technical support, and then a little bit of supply chain here and there. Now I'm back completely doing our intern program. Now that we're in somewhat of a post-COVID world, we are ramping our university recruiting back up. So looking for both interns and entry level full time. But as I was telling Judy, I was born and raised in Connecticut. So I just recently moved to our Boston location. And I was previously in our headquarters. So that's me, Victoria. I'll pass it over to you.
I am also up here in Boston with Jenna. I started with Datto actually this year, or 2021, excuse me, as a talent acquisition partner as well. She and I both work in finance, but I tend to focus a little bit more on the analytics side, and I partner with sales and their needs as well. So between the two of us, we kind of run the gamut.
Excellent. Wonderful. So just to start us off, I tried to study the website, but Jenna, why don't you tell us a little bit? Datto seems to be into so many different technology businesses. Help us understand what your core businesses are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess just to kind of give a broad overview of just who Datto is and what our mission and kind of impact is in the tech space. Since it seems every company somehow is a software company these days. But essentially, Datto provides IT solutions to small and mid-sized businesses. So our end users are really any business entity that wouldn't typically have their own IT infrastructure. So that could be like your dentist's office or a restaurant or hotel. Those are the end users and the data that we're actually protecting. So our services very much so fall under the cybersecurity cloud storage realm. But usually wherever you see the name Datto, and I'm sure if you just go on our website, one of the first things you'll see is the acronym MSP or the phrase channel only. And that is referring to the business model that we use to actually push our products and services to the market. So rather than working directly with the dentist's office and the restaurants and the hotels, Datto pushes our products through what we call a channel of managed service providers. So those managed service providers are working directly with our sales teams and our product support teams in getting their end users data protected by Datto. So you'll see the phrase MSP company. MSP is actually our ticker symbol since we went public. So that's what that's all about.
Great. Okay. And wherever you want to go, I know, Jenna, you wanted to talk about internships, and Victoria, maybe more of the full-time jobs. So whoever wants to start us off is all good.
Cool. Victoria, I will hand it off to you first because I'll do a kind of a longer spiel about our interns.
Yeah. So full-time jobs, I mean, pretty fair, a little bit more fairly self-explanatory than I think maybe the internship program would be, although I think internship seems like kind of another world to me. Jenna does run a very detailed program there. But, in terms of our full-time positions here, we are both taking applications for those positions. These people are coming in, working, 35 to 40 hours a week for us. And so we are both taking applications and going out and finding people that we think look like a good fit. So it's very possible that you'll get a message from one of us on LinkedIn. And it's very important, and something that I like to talk to people about is always making sure you have a LinkedIn, making sure that you have it updated and as accurate as possible, making sure there's no differences between your LinkedIn and your resume. So we're taking those in a little bit more detailed of a interview process and bringing these people on as salaried professionals.
And what type of positions, Victoria? Are they highly technical? Are they like in various areas?
Yeah. So me personally, I work in various areas. As you know, Judy, I do tend to work in analytics. So those do tend to be very technical. I'm looking for somebody that has Tableau or Python or SQL on their resume. Really need to see that. So having all of your technical skills on a resume is really important for those positions that I am working on the most. The cool thing about that, however, as far as analytics goes, is that sometimes those full-time jobs are not very out of reach right out of college. Those technical skills really are very important to us. And if you're somebody that is just graduated and you have an internship where you dashboarded or you were doing statistical analysis, then we see that as somebody who can grow with Datto, and we can kind of fill in the blanks on any sort of technical skills that you might need. So that's really interesting. And at that point, I'm working with somebody and kind of seeing how their personality works. How do you deal with people? How are your communication skills over the phone? Those types of things. Other than that, I tend to partner with sales and finance. Finance is actually fairly similar to analytics in the sense that we are looking for communication skills. What programs have you worked with? What types of, what are you doing on a daily basis, or what have you learned in your internships? And then in terms of sales, that is all personality. That is all personality, especially on an entry level. That tends to be somebody who is just very much a go-getter. So if you can get on the phone and you have like a go-getter personality, you feel like you can own it, then you probably will.
Yeah. And I think just to piggyback off that, finance and sales are probably two of our biggest departments where we welcome a big group of entry-level candidates. So usually folks who are right out of college after their 4-year degree. So I know a lot of our analysts under the finance department. I'm just looking at our list now. We have accounts receivable analyst that I'm working on. That's open to folks who are graduating or just recently graduated. And then a few different financial analysts too, across all of our North American locations. So those are one big group. And then another large group would be our sales development representatives, SDRs we call them, or associate SDRs. And those are a huge volume of candidates we get on a yearly basis. And those are folks who are actually working to build our book of business. They're, building a pipeline of new partners. And again, like Victoria said, we really look for those big personalities for that type of entry-level role.
Got it. Okay. Do you want to fill us in on the summer internships?
Sure. So to preface this, and I guess I should have mentioned this too at the beginning. Just the DNA of Datto and kind of our cultural infrastructure, if that's a phrase or a word, has always been built around entry-level talent. So Datto started with an RIT recent grad. He graduated RIT and then a month later founded Datto back in 2007. And since then, he had interns working for him. He had his friends, his brother working for him. So it's always been a part of our DNA to use young talent and entry-level talent and build our company in that way. So that's why we're so passionate about it. And that's why I'm so excited about bringing the intern program back this year. So for this summer, we are looking to have around 30 interns across all of Datto for our North American program. And the program will run from June 6th through August 19th. So we have students for about 11 weeks. And we find that starting them all together and having them work the same hours and end on the same day really brings that cohort feeling together. So they start in our very much so engaging new hire orientation class, which is called Datto University. We like to post about it all over LinkedIn, but it's always been a piece of our culture of getting new hires ramped up in 3 days, learning more about our products and whatnot. And then students are full-time, so they work 40 hours a week on their teams. Of course, all of our interns are paid competitive rates. And they go through, depending on the team, a pretty quick interview process. So we have yet to start those for this summer, but we will be getting our internships posted in the next, I would say, couple weeks, and then we will start the interview process and bring our interns on board the first week of June.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit, Jenna, about what the interview process is like?
Mhm.
You know, do
Yeah.
you use like HireVue, or, you know, talk us through what the process is?
Sure. So we know it is a competitive marketplace, especially this time of year for students. A lot of companies are hiring interns this time of year. So we try to keep our interview process as brief as possible. It usually starts with a 15 to 20 minute prelim screen with myself, where I just give them kind of idea of what the format of the program looks like, answer any questions about joining Datto or the job description. And then from there, they go right to a conversation with the hiring manager for the role that they applied to. And that's where they'll go into depth a little bit more about projects that they have in mind, kind of tools, tech to get ramped up in beforehand, team structure, that type of thing. And then depending on the team, they may take some type of Excel assessment, or for our technical teams, they may take what we call a code signal. But that is usually just something taken on their own time, so it doesn't really take up a large block of their time. So pretty brief.
Okay. So for your initial screening, is that a resume or a quick phone call or a quick virtual meeting? What does that look like?
Yep, just a quick phone call. Usually I try to get those scheduled within a week of when a candidate applies.
Okay, got it. Okay. And so you talked about the interviewing process. In a couple of weeks when it is posted, do you think it'll go on Handshake or on your site? Either way, you can let us know.
Yes. Yep. So I'll put it on both. It'll be on our careers page under the respective departments, and then I'll also post it on Handshake.
Okay, great. So a couple of questions. First of all, the top skills for the internship roles, is that the same as what you said for the regular company? Talk a little bit about the skills for the internship roles.
Yes. So we understand that students have a lot to learn, and we want them to learn with Datto. So you will notice once our job descriptions are posted for our internships, the requirements list is pretty short, pretty brief. As long as their education background and career interests align with the role itself, we are pretty flexible. So a big thing that I look for in our interns is just that willingness to learn. I always say just the nature of our tech space, specifically where Datto is situated, pivoting and having that energy about what we do at Datto is something that is huge and something that'll really bring a lot of value to their teams here. So I would say soft skills take precedent over hard skills for most of our internships.
Okay, that's good to hear. So the Tableau or Python or any of that, because I know, some you're looking for juniors, Jenna, by the way, I should have asked that. Juniors.
Yes.
Okay.
Juniors, and the occasional sophomore if they've had similar course experience or a previous internship.
Okay, got it. Okay. So if they don't have those exact skills yet, the business and data analytics skills for the internship, there's an opportunity that they can get exposed to them during the internship. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of the time students who are in their junior year have either had some exposure, whether it be in a class or, heard about it before and can apply it.
Okay, thanks. Excellent.
Do you have a question, Judy? We have a student with a hand up.
A hand up. Oh, wow. Very cool. Okay, Aaron, go for it. Love that hand.
Sure. So my name is Aaron Salanita. I'm a junior studying business data analytics. And I heard that one of the on-demand skills that you really desired from students were Python, SQL, and Tableau. I'm curious to know, do you have any upcoming summer opportunities in Norwalk for students?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I know that there will be a data analytics intern opening on our cross-product engineering team. So that person will be using Python and Tableau, as well as AWS, to look at data from our different products. So again, not open quite yet, but that will be coming down the pipeline for the summer.
One thing I'd like to add too is that, especially with the people that I work with in analytics, they love to bring people back. So if you end up with an internship and they know you can do the skills, there is nothing they love more than knowing the person already, being able to make a quick hire, knowing that you can work with the team, knowing you can build the skills. They love to bring people back. So there's a lot of opportunity here for interns turned full-time after they've graduated.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the info.
I know nobody knows this for sure, but does it look like a possibility that they might be in the office or TBD?
So unfortunately, we're just having fully remote this summer. We just figured we don't want to go back and forth at all and cause any confusion with the students. So we'll just be fully remote for this summer.
Okay, got it. Okay. Okay, Kathy, and then Olivia. I think
Olivia, you can go first.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, Olivia.
Thank you, Kathy. Actually, Judy asked one of my questions. That my other question was, you were mentioning something about like a North American territory. So are you an international based company? And if so, where are like the other offices across the globe?
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned this when I did my broad spiel. But yes, so we are international. We are heavily based in North America, but we do have offices across the UK and Asia. So yes, very much so a global company. We just opened an office last year in Israel. So that's our newest international office.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And my question kind of follows up on Erin's, and Victoria, maybe this is for you. You talked about this, the people who join don't have to have the strong skills yet in Python, SQL, Tableau. We do have students who take workshops. It's called OPIM Innovate, where the students get introduced to the programs. How do they show either in their resume or cover letter that they've got some basic knowledge of those skills, but not something at the proficiency level?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I have a lot of opinions about this. So first of all, it's really important in any sort of technical resume that you always have your software skills listed at the top. You never want anybody having to look for them. And those are the thing about a resume for anyone who wasn't told. I know I certainly wasn't told in college, is that we are keywording you all day long on the internet and, hitting control find when we're looking through a resume. So as many keywords of things that you've done, put them in the resume. It doesn't need to be 1 page. It can be 2 pages. We'll survive. In terms of how long it's been, if you've just graduated college, we know that you haven't been very, very deep into these programs. We're not assuming, and I think I speak for most recruiters, and we're the ones that are seeing the resumes first. We're really not assuming that you've done some really heavy lift Python work. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that if we've seen it in your resume, we're going to ask you on the phone. It's very likely that we interview you. We're going to ask you on the phone, what were you doing? And how often were you doing it? Python is a little bit, like I said, a heavier lift in terms of software skills. Mostly it's Tableau and SQL or a Power BI, something of that nature that we're looking for. If it's an entry-level position, usually the hiring manager will have some sort of like a code signal or something of that nature that they'll do with you on one of the interviews. Just kind of see what your aptitude is for it. But it's something where if you've just graduated college, I wouldn't worry so much about misleading anyone. We are not under any illusions that you've been working with SQL for years and years and years if you've just graduated. So we're pretty well aware of like what the skill level kind of is there. But any projects that you've done or projects, internships, classes that you've taken, it's always worth noting, much more than it's going to be useful for us to see like volunteer work or how many words you can type a minute or things like that like we'll really never look at. Throw any of your career motivated extracurriculars onto your resume. I think that helps.
And just follow up on that, you said that LinkedIn is you do LinkedIn searches. So you actually go into LinkedIn and do those keyword searches to find candidates?
Heavily. I would say 50% of what we get is probably applications, and the other 50% is what we call sourcing our candidates. And we'll go in and we're able to search by, if I'm looking for, Judy and I were working on the business intelligence analyst. I'm looking for somebody, analyst and SQL and Tableau or Power BI. And I'm running a search for people with a certain amount of experience, be it 0 to 2 years or 1 to 3, whatever the case may be. And LinkedIn will pull up all those people that have marked themselves open to work. Now we can see anybody who's also not open to work, but I think that's usually where we start. So if you are looking for a position and you've graduated, marking yourself open to work is very important. I would say I have myself personally gotten the last several of my jobs through LinkedIn, so it definitely can't be discounted.
And what I tell students, and it's exactly what you said, Victoria, you don't have to guess at the keywords. They're usually giving them to you in the job description.
Yeah.
So look under qualifications and then just pick out the skills, the platforms, the languages, whatever it is that they're asking for, and then put them in your resume, put them in your LinkedIn profile. And that's how the algorithm is going to find you for Datto.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Another thing that I like to add about LinkedIn is that sometimes you'll see people that have a brief synopsis under every job they've had or under the internship of what they were doing and what they were using, or a brief summary of their own skills at the top. That is very useful. Very, very useful. In addition to just, adding at the bottom, like I've used Snowflake or Microsoft Office or whatever the case may be. The more you write in, the better.
Good to know. Mick, I know you had a question. It may have been answered already, so shout out if there's anything that is still unanswered for you.
I think you guys did a great job kind of going through answering a lot of questions that students had, but also even my questions here. But as far as the roles themselves, I know that you did mention and allude to that they are going to stay remote for the summer. Is there an opportunity for those roles to continue on staying remote on a permanent basis, or a hybrid? What's sort of that company culture at this point in time? Is there that mix of in-person and on the job and also remote, or is there just permanently remote across the bandwidth of all the different locations right now?
So yeah, when I say for the summer it'll be remote, that's just for our intern program. I do think there will be some type of transition back for full-time employees before then. I hope. And we do have a lot of our roles typically pre-COVID that were not open to permanently remote, but now our teams are seeing, the impact and just the way the market is right now. A lot of people want to keep that remote benefit. So I'm just looking at our finance roles right now, and about half of them are open to fully remote permanently. I know a lot of our teams still prefer that their teams be based in the office or at least located near an office so they can do an offsite meeting when needed, so on and so forth. But we are seeing a lot more flexibility across our teams.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Are the positions available to international students?
Yes, so that is, I would say, on a department basis. I know, and Victoria, maybe you can speak to this too for full-time, but it does depend on the department and what function they fall under.
Yeah, so I would say I'm going to answer this in kind of two ways as well. One, if you're asking, and I'm guessing you're not, but if you're asking about international, obviously we also have many offices across the globe. So if you are going back somewhere, of course, there's opportunity there. In terms of an entry-level position for somebody with, let's say, OPT, there is definitely a lot of opportunity there. I think OPT is a very flexible visa that we're able to work with quite easily. It does depend on a couple of things. One, it always depends on just the department and whether they can or can't support it at any given time. And it also often depends on the candidate and what they're sort of expecting down the line. OPT can come with all kinds of sort of barriers when it comes to ending up on a regular H-1B and moving from there to green card. So obviously we do hope for a degree of understanding and flexibility that those are things that we have to kind of deal with on a legal side, as well as financially. So I guess the point that I'm making here is that there are no guarantees long-term just because of those things, but OPT is easy to work with. Not every OPT person on OPT is going to be qualified necessarily for every job, but it's almost as easy as working with somebody who's just a regular US citizen. So we're totally fine with that.
Right. The other question in chat is, what early jobs do you look for in a resume? For example, finance roles. So Jenna, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so early jobs in the sense of like before any type of corporate career. Okay. Yeah, I would say customer service roles typically are really big, I feel like, in building soft skills, especially for like our account services positions and our go-to-market sales teams. Really any type of like customer service type position where you're working with other people, you're troubleshooting, teamwork, any position where you're working on a team of a diverse group where you have to bounce ideas off each other and things. And then another thing I'll say too, when I'm looking at interns and entry level, personal projects are things that really stand out. So I know not everybody can have 2-3 internships while they're in undergrad, but personal projects or course-long projects on a resume where they go into detail of how they applied different tools or lessons that they learned are supplemental to that too.
I think additionally, don't feel like you need to add like your high school jobs or things like that necessarily. If you worked a job during college, like that will be fine. I think sometimes the mistake people make is they end up with a 3-page resume of like, you worked in the retail industry for a little while, or you waited tables for a little while. All great skills, not necessarily applicable to what you're applying for. So I think that keep it as relevant and recent as possible and try not to go too far back.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a lot out of this. I'm glad that Sue mentioned we really wanted to stress again what our talent acquisition guests have said about keeping your skills at the top. So everybody says something different to you. I always say, put the most important things in the top third of the resume. Because, we know as you go through lots and lots of resumes, you don't always make it back down to the bottom. So keep the skills at the top. And if don't guess at the skills, read the job descriptions and give them back if you have that skill, what they're looking for. Any other questions from any of the other? Oh, Mahesh has a question, and I thought, Mahesh, did you have a question or did I not read?
I do.
Yeah, great.
I know you guys were talking about technical and finance positions. Does Datto offer any marketing positions?
Yes, we do. They're not as common to come by for entry level. Right now, I don't see any that are listed for entry level or new grads. Not to say there won't be any this year. We will be hiring a lot in our different departments. So I just recommend keeping an eye on the career page.
We hired a few in 2021. I know we were looking for a marketing specialist. Like anything specialist or associate will usually be more entry level. So keep an eye out for that. We'll also sometimes have like marketing ops jobs, which kind of straddle the line a little bit. So those are worth looking into. Jenna and I are focusing on finance, analytics, sales, because that's what we touch the most. In fact, we have a 60-person team of talent acquisition partners. So it kind of runs, again, the gamut of what you can find. There's also, operations, marketing, like you said. There's a full spectrum of positions here that you could qualify for.
Okay, thank you.
And Divya had a question. You joined a little bit later, Divya. The summer internship positions are available. They have not yet been posted. So Jenna filled us in that they're going to be posted within the next couple of weeks. And when she lets me know, we will let you guys know. For most of you are in the business school, I think. And if you're not, we have an Instagram site called UConn BIZ Career. So we'll always mark it out on that. In addition, for the business school students, we send out a newsletter on email every Monday. So when Jenna lets me know, we will immediately let you know. So those will be available in a couple of weeks. So all good. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Any other questions? Excellent. Well, I think we learned a lot. Thank you very much, Jenna and Victoria, for joining us. Thank you, all the students who have joined us for our very first Virtual Career Tuesday. And look at our schedule. We've got wonderful ones coming up in the next few weeks and in the next few months. So all good. Thank you. And have a nice rest of the day to everybody. Okay.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Nice meeting
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice job.
Did you stop recording?
Maybe not. Hang on a second. Stop. Thank you.